Good morning and welcome to Sunday Square Off. I'm Bram Resnick. On today's show, why are sick inmates being allowed to die in Arizona prisons? We'll hear from a reporter covering that story. You'll meet Republican outsiders running for disgraced Congressman Trent Frank's seat. And in a minute, GOP Senate candidate Kelli Ward and I will be talking about this. The deal President Trump is dangling on immigration. The Dreamers, young immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children, would get legal status and a 10 to 12-year path to citizenship. In exchange, the president wants a $25 billion trust fund to pay for a wall on the Mexico border, plus more immigration arrests and deportations, and dramatic restrictions on legal immigration. The White House says the border security measures are non-negotiable. If the president and Congress do nothing by March 5th, the Dreamers, who are now protected from deportation, would begin to lose those protections and could be tossed out of the country. Dr. Kelli Ward, welcome to Sunday Square Off.
Hey, Bram. Great to be here.
Good to see you. I want to start with something else that happened late last week. The news that President Trump tried to order the firing of Robert Mueller back last June. Should the president order the firing of Robert Mueller?
Well, I mean, I think that is contested about what actually happened. Maybe they had a conversation. Hey, he said, I could do this if I want to. His lawyer said that's not a good idea, so they tossed it. I don't know why it's become a story today.
Well, the president ordering the firing of somebody who's investigating the president is a significant story.
But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So now suddenly there's some.
Do you think he should try to order the firing?
I mean, I think that there are a lot of things that need to be investigated that have been going on inside the government for a long time. And so I'm glad it's happening.
All right. Let's go to immigration. Yes or no? Do you support that plan we just put up there?
Well, I believe that the southern border has got to be secured. We've got to turn off the inducements that lead to illegal immigration. So respectfully but strongly, I disagree with the White House's immigration framework that they put out this week.
Which piece of it? Is it the citizenship?
Well, I mean,
for the path to citizenship for 1.8 million?
Well, I think that any permanent solution to the DACA population should not be on the table until the border is secured. We have to learn from history. In 1986, Ronald Reagan granted amnesty, and he said that his biggest regret, one of his biggest regrets as president, was granting amnesty and then trusting Congress to secure the border. As we know, that didn't happen. So we've got to put a halt on the DACA conversation and get into securing the border. I think there are 5 clear steps that have to be implemented, have to be completed before we can start to discuss the DACA population. Number 1, we have to fund and build the wall. Number 2, we have to end chain migration. Number 3, we have to eliminate the diversity lotto. Number 4, we have to defund sanctuary cities. And number 5, we have to implement mandatory e-verify across the board. Once we do those things, then we can talk about what do we do with this DACA population that Barack Obama created with his executive order.
You called President Reagan's plan amnesty. Is President Trump's plan amnesty?
Well, I think any permanent solution is amnesty. That's why we have to have temporary fix, a temporary status that allows people who came here through no fault of their own to be able to continue to work, to be able to continue to go to school without fear. But I do think that population has to be vetted, and any criminal elements that are within it have to be taken care of, have to be deported or incarcerated.
They are vetted right now when they get their DACA permits.
Well, I can tell you that I would argue that Steve Ronnebeck, the father of Grant Ronnebeck, would argue against that. A 14-year-old DACA, a guy that was brought to...
undocumented immigrant. He wasn't a DACA recipient.
He was in the DACA population. He was brought here by his...
But he wasn't a DACA recipient, was he?
But this bill...
But he wasn't a DACA recipient.
But this bill talks about everyone within the DACA, within the Dreamer population. That's how we got to 1.8 million. So a person who was brought here...
But you agree, he was not a DACA recipient.
He would fall into this bill.
But he was not a DACA recipient.
He would fall into this bill that the White House is proposing. You have to admit it, Bram. He was brought here by his parents as a 14-year-old. He became a criminal, illegal alien, and he went into a convenience store and shot American citizen, 21-year-old Grant Ronnebeck in cold blood. That's why we have to stop the madness and secure the southern border first and foremost.
Let's move on to the election. Most recent poll in the Senate primary shows you're trailing Martha McSally and Joe Arpaio. You've been making your case to voters for 3 years now, through the 2016 Senate race and now this. Does that tell you they're just not buying it anymore if Arpaio and McSally can jump ahead of you so quickly?
Certainly not. I mean, I served successfully in the Arizona State Senate for 2 terms, was one of the most effective state senators that we had, getting 19 bills signed into law in 1 year. Bills designed to shrink the size of government, to lower taxes, to lift the heavy hand of government off the heads of small businesses so they can thrive. People are looking for that. We'd expect anybody who got into the race to get a bump in their numbers, especially someone as famous as Sheriff Joe, to come in, and someone who's the choice of the establishment in Martha, someone in the mold of Jeff Flake and John McCain, something that is a brand of politics that, frankly, the Republican voter, the conservative voter, the independent voter, they've rejected that brand of politics. What that poll showed, and what every poll has shown, is that about 60% of the Republican electorate is sick and tired of the insider class, sick and tired of Jeff Flake, sick and tired of John McCain, and that translates to Martha McSally, who is just in the mold of Jeff and John.
Okay, let's follow that line of thinking, and that's part of the issue right now, isn't it? You and Joe Arpaio are splitting many of the same voters. And so is there room for both of you in this race?
Well, we do share a common base because, you know, the sheriff has been a fighter on immigration. He's almost a folk hero about stopping illegal immigration. Martha, on the other hand, has been strong on the military. What people are going to find with me is that they get the whole package. They get someone strong on immigration and stopping, securing the border, stopping illegal immigration. Someone who believes in our military and peace through strength, as well as a person who has a wide array of issues and expertise: healthcare, education, public safety, water policy, energy policy, foreign policy. And people are looking for a champion for those conservative values in Washington, and that's why they're migrating to me.
But does one of you, Arpaio or Kelli Ward, need to get out of the race in order for the ideas you believe in to win?
I definitely don't think that that's the case. I think that conservative voters and Republicans and independents, as well as conservative Democrats, will migrate to me. And so I'll be successful in the primary. It's not about just winning a primary, though. It's about winning the general and then getting to Washington,
You got to win the primary first.
But the goal is not just to win a primary. It's to get to Washington, D.C. and do the job that hasn't been done for so many years.
There's a push to get Joe Arpaio to step aside. Republicans might introduce a resolution to do that. Do you support that?
You know, that's going to be up to whoever brings it. I'm not really familiar with the resolution, but we'll see what happens.
You've also suggested in a recent interview that Joe Arpaio, as a sheriff, is not really prepared to be a senator. That job does not prepare you.
Well, I mean, he's been a great law enforcement official. He's been there fighting for American law and to stop illegal immigration. I think I'm certainly well suited to go to Washington, D.C., to take the skills and talents and abilities that I have, the knowledge that I have, the relationship building capacity that I have, that I learned in the Arizona State Senate, and that I learned as a physician. I'm a natural problem solver. I want to go to D.C. and solve the problems.
Got to end it there. Dr. Kelli Ward, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Bram.
When we come back, more reaction to Donald Trump's immigration deal from one of the country's, from an early advocate for Dreamers and an immigration attorney. Then, why horrific conditions in Arizona's prisons could result in a court takeover. Stay with us.